In the world of business, knowledge isn't just power, it's your unfair advantage. This is Momentum, your deep dive into the books that shape the world's most successful leaders. Let's begin.
Think of a time you watched a colleague completely bomb a presentation.
You were squirming in your seat. It was physically painful to watch.
And what did you do afterward when they walked up to you and asked, "How did I do?"
You lied. You smiled and said, "Oh, you did great. Really good energy."
Because you're a nice person. You didn't want to hurt their feelings. But that instinct, that specific reflex to be nice to people's faces, it is quietly destroying your team's culture. And worse, it is the absolute cruelest thing you can do to someone you work with.
Today, we are dismantling the biggest lie in corporate America, the idea that being a good boss means being a nice boss.
We're diving into Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Kim is a legendary CEO coach who has led teams at Apple and Google, and she wrote the definitive playbook on how to be a kick-ass boss without losing your humanity.
But hold on, the risk here is obvious. People hear the phrase radical candor and they think it's a free pass to just be a jerk. They think, great, I don't have to filter my thoughts anymore.
I know. Stay with me, because the counterintuitive part of Kim's framework is coming, and it proves that being a jerk is actually a massive failure of leadership. Let's go back to Google in the early 2000s.
Kim Scott has just given the presentation of her life to the CEO and the founders. The business she's running is off the charts. The room is thrilled. She walks out feeling like a complete rock star.
And her boss at the time, Sheryl Sandberg, walks out with her. Sheryl tells Kim all the things that went perfectly. The numbers are amazing. But then Sheryl says, "Kim, you said a lot in there. Were you aware of it?"
Kim does what we all do. She brushes it off. She makes a brushing gesture with her hand and says, "Yeah, I know, it's a verbal tic. No big deal."
Sheryl pushes a little harder. She says, "I can recommend a speech coach for you. Google will pay for it."
Kim brushes it off again. She's thinking, I just crushed the biggest meeting of the year. Who cares about a few ums?
This is the moment where 99% of bosses back down. Sheryl has tried to be polite. Kim isn't getting it. The nice thing to do here is drop it.
But Sheryl Sandberg doesn't drop it. She stops walking, looks Kim dead in the eye, and says, "Kim, I can tell by that brushing gesture you're making that I am not getting through to you. I'm going to have to be a lot more direct. When you say every third word, it makes you sound stupid."
Ouch.
Right? It sounds brutal. If someone said that to me, my stomach would drop out of my body. But here is the crazy part. Kim Scott looks back on that exact moment as the defining lesson of her career. Not because Sheryl was mean, but because Sheryl was doing the hardest work of leadership. She was practicing radical candor.
Because think about the alternative. If Sheryl had just let it go, if she had practiced what Kim calls ruinous empathy. Kim keeps saying, people keep thinking she's less competent than she actually is. Her career stalls out, and she never knows why.
Ruinous empathy. That is the disease plaguing modern management. We care so much about not causing immediate discomfort that we let people we care about walk blindly into long-term failure.
We need to break down Kim's matrix here, because this is where the magic is. Imagine a simple graph. The vertical axis is care personally. The horizontal axis is challenge directly.
Most of us are pretty good at the caring part. We know about our team's kids, their dogs, their weekends, but we are terrified of the horizontal axis. We do not challenge them directly.
And when you care personally but fail to challenge directly, you land in the quadrant of ruinous empathy. That's the fake smile. That's the "you did great" after a terrible presentation.
Wait, but what happens if you flip it? What if you challenge someone directly, but you haven't put in the work to show you care about them personally?
Then you land in the quadrant of obnoxious aggression. You're just a dictator. People might fix the problem in the short term, but they will hate you. They won't trust you, and eventually, they will leave.
This is why Sheryl Sandberg could tell Kim Scott she sounded stupid. It wasn't obnoxious aggression because Sheryl had spent years proving she cared personally. She had invited Kim to dinner, helped her navigate personal crises, championed her career. The foundation of care was so incredibly solid, it could handle the weight of a heavy truth.
That is radical candor. Caring personally and challenging directly at the exact same time. It's not a license to be cruel. It's an obligation to be clear.
So, how do we actually do this? How do you transition from ruinous empathy to radical candor tomorrow morning without blowing up your team?
You start by asking for it, not giving it. You cannot just walk into the office tomorrow and start telling everyone their work is terrible.
Exactly. You have to prove you can take it before you dish it out. Tomorrow, pull your team together, or just sit down with one direct report and ask them a specific question. Not, do you have any feedback for me? Because they will just say no.
Right. The word feedback makes people freeze. Instead, ask this exact question. What is one thing I could do, or stop doing, that would make it easier to work with me?
And then you shut up.
You close your mouth and you wait. It will be awkward. Let the silence hang. And when they finally give you a piece of criticism, you do not defend yourself. You say one thing. Thank you.
You reward the candor. Once they see that you are actively seeking the truth and that you don't punish them for it, you start building the trust required to challenge them in return.
The other strict rule of thumb for tomorrow: praise in public, criticize in private. Radical candor is not about humiliating people in front of their peers. It's about a quiet, direct conversation where you look someone in the eye and say, your work on this project is not up to your usual standard, and I want to help you fix it.
It is deeply uncomfortable in the short term, but in the long term, it is the only way to build a team that actually trusts each other. It's the difference between letting someone walk around all day with spinach in their teeth because you're too polite to mention it versus pulling them aside and handing them a toothpick.
Be the boss who hands out toothpicks.
To really master this, you need to practice. It is a reflex you have to build. And that is exactly what we have built for you in the Momentum app.
We've designed a specific interactive scenario in the app where you can practice giving tough feedback to a virtual team member. You'll get to test out your phrasing, see if you're falling into ruinous empathy, and calibrate your radical candor before you try it on real humans. Open the Momentum app right now and try the Toothpick Test module.
And of course, you need to read the full book. Radical Candor by Kim Scott is mandatory reading for anyone who ever has to manage another human being. It is packed with incredibly rich stories and specific scripts you can use every single day. Go get the book.
Stop being so nice. Start being honest. We'll see you tomorrow on Momentum.